Fellow soil enthusiasts, let me share a gardening secret that completely transformed my approach to composting. After years of turning piles religiously, measuring ratios obsessively, and waiting endlessly for that perfect black gold, I discovered a method so simple it almost felt like cheating. The lazy composting method not only saves time and effort but actually produces finished compost faster than traditional methods. Yes, you read that right. Being lazy can make you more efficient. Lazy composting, also known as cold composting or passive composting, strips away the complexity that intimidates so many gardeners. Instead of meticulously layering browns and greens, monitoring temperatures, and turning piles weekly, this method harnesses natural decomposition processes with minimal intervention. The core principle revolves around creating the right environment once and letting nature do the heavy lifting. Think of it as setting up a slow cooker meal. You prep everything up front, then walk away while time works its magic. The key difference from traditional hot composting is that we're not trying to accelerate bacterial activity through heat generation. Instead, we're creating optimal conditions for a diverse ecosystem of decomposers to work steadily over time. What makes this method particularly appealing is its forgiving nature. Traditional composting demands precision. Get the carbon to nitrogen ratio wrong, and you'll either have a slimy mess or a pile that won't break down. Lazy composting accommodates imperfection, making it perfect for busy gardeners or those just starting their composting journey. Here's where it gets interesting. Lazy composting often outpaces traditional methods because it maintains consistent conditions for decomposition. Traditional hot composting creates intense microbial activity that burns through easily digestible materials quickly, but then activity drops off dramatically as temperatures cool and the pile needs turning to reactivate. Lazy composting maintains steady decomposition rates by supporting a broader range of organisms. While hot composting relies primarily on thermophilic bacteria, cold composting engages mesophilic bacteria, fungi, actinomycetes, and countless soil organisms like springtails, mites, and earthworms. This diverse community works continuously, breaking down materials through multiple pathways simultaneously. The moisture retention in lazy compost systems also accelerates decomposition. Without frequent turning that exposes materials to air and drying, the pile maintains optimal moisture levels naturally. This consistent environment means decomposition never stops and starts, it just keeps chugging along at a steady pace. Creating your lazy compost system requires thoughtful setup but minimal ongoing effort. Choose a partially shaded location that receives morning sun but stays protected from harsh afternoon heat. This positioning helps maintain consistent moisture without creating soggy conditions. So, your container or area should allow for adequate drainage while still retaining moisture. I've honestly had excellent success with simple wire mesh cylinders, wooden pallets formed into squares, or even just designated ground areas bordered by logs or stones. The key here is creating boundaries that contain your compost materials while still allowing for good air circulation and water drainage. You want to start with a foundation layer of coarse materials like small branches, corn cobs, or chunky organic matter. This creates air pockets and keeps the pile from becoming anaerobic and smelly. Now, unlike traditional composting, you really don't need to worry about perfect layering. Just aim for a general mix of materials throughout. The real beauty of lazy composting is its continuous addition approach. Instead of building complete piles all at once, you just add materials as they become available. Kitchen scraps go in whenever you have them. Fall leaves get added throughout autumn, and garden trimmings find their home whenever you're out doing yard work. While lazy composting is definitely forgiving, understanding some basic ratios still helps optimize your results. Aim for roughly 3 parts brown materials, which is carbon, to 1 part green materials, which is nitrogen. But hey, don't stress about being precise. Browns include things like dried leaves, paper, cardboard, wood chips, and straw. Greens are your kitchen scraps, fresh grass clippings, garden trimmings, and coffee grounds. Size actually matters more than exact ratios in lazy composting. Smaller pieces just decompose faster, so chopping up your kitchen scraps and shredding those larger materials can really speed things along. I always keep a small hatchet handy near my compost area, makes it easy to chop woody stems and break down bigger pieces. Moisture management, well, that becomes pretty intuitive with a bit of experience. Your pile should feel kind of like a wrung-out sponge, moist all the way through but definitely not dripping. During dry spells, just water your compost like you would your plants. And, in those wet seasons, toss in more brown materials to soak up the extra moisture and keep everything balanced. One ingredient that really supercharges lazy composting is finished compost or even just some good quality soil. Adding a shovelful of completed compost brings in established microbial communities that get right to work breaking down the new stuff. It's honestly a lot like adding sourdough starter to bread dough. You're basically inoculating your pile with proven decomposers. Spring, it brings a ton of green materials as you clean up all that winter debris and start some aggressive pruning. This is the perfect time to add structure to your pile with woody materials, while also mixing in those nitrogen-rich greens that start popping up. And hey, don't stress about overwhelming your system. Lazy composting is actually great at handling those big seasonal influxes. Summer honestly requires the most attention, mainly when it comes to managing moisture. Hot weather, can dry out compost piles pretty quickly, which really slows down decomposition. I've found that burying kitchen scraps a bit deeper into the piles during summer helps, down where they stay moist and keep breaking down, even if the surface stuff kind of slows its decay for a while. Now fall, that's really the sweet spot for lazy composting. There's just so many leaves and they're the perfect brown material to balance out all those greens you've been piling up. Instead of raking leaves to the curb, I like to layer them right into my compost system. Just a tip. Whole leaves can mat down and slow things, so I run my mower over the leaf piles to chop them up before adding them in. Winter, well, it doesn't stop lazy composting, it just kind of slows it down. Decomposition keeps going, even in cold weather, but just at a reduced rate. I keep adding kitchen scraps all winter long, and honestly, by spring I'm always amazed at how much is broken down during what seems like a pretty dormant season. Even the most forgiving composting method, occasionally throws a few challenges your way. Bad odors, for example, usually mean you've got anaerobic conditions from too much moisture or not enough air circulation. The fix is pretty simple. Just add some brown materials and gently mix the top layers, no need for a full turning. And creating a few small air holes with a garden fork really helps restore the right conditions. Slow decomposition often results from materials being too large or the pile being too dry. Size reduction makes an immediate difference. Spending 10 minutes chopping materials saves weeks of decomposition time. Moisture issues resolve with regular watering during dry periods or covering during excessive rain. Pest problems rarely plague lazy composting systems when managed properly. Burying kitchen scraps prevents attracting flies and rodents, while maintaining proper moisture levels discourages unwanted visitors. If pests become problematic, just temporarily stop adding kitchen scraps and focus on garden materials until balance restores. Finished lazy compost looks like rich dark soil with an earthy smell and crumbly texture. Individual materials become unrecognizable, though some woody pieces might remain partially intact. The timeline varies from 4 months to 2 years, depending on materials, climate, and maintenance level. Testing readiness involves more than visual inspection. Grab a handful of compost and squeeze it. Finished compost holds together briefly, then crumbles apart. It should smell earthy and pleasant, never sour or ammonia-like. If you're unsure, let it age longer. Overage compost never hurts plants, while underage compost can tie up nitrogen and stress plants. The harvesting process honestly stays true to the lazy philosophy. Instead of sifting through entire piles, I practice continuous harvesting. So I remove finished compost from the bottom and sides of piles, while adding new materials to the top and center. This creates a perpetual system where you're always making and using compost simultaneously. The real magic of lazy composting reveals itself in how seamlessly it integrates into garden routines. Instead of composting being just another chore, it really becomes a natural extension of garden maintenance. Every weeding session, every pruning project, and even your kitchen cleanup all contribute to your soil improvement system. I've discovered that Lazy composting actually connects me more deeply with my garden's nutrient cycles. Watching materials transform slowly over time gives you a real appreciation for natural processes while, at the same time, providing steady supplies of soil amendments. There's just something deeply satisfying about closing the loop between garden waste and garden fertility. The quality of lazy compost honestly often surpasses hot compost because the slower process preserves more nutrients and beneficial organisms. The diverse microbial communities that develop create compost that's not just organic matter, but a living soil amendment teeming with beneficial biology. So, are you ready to revolutionize your composting game? The lazy method really proves that sometimes the best approach is the simplest one. Your garden will thank you with healthier plants, and your schedule will thank you with more time to actually enjoy gardening instead of just maintaining it. If this lazy composting method has inspired you to transform your garden's soil health, make sure to subscribe to Soilsage Chronicles for more time-saving gardening wisdom. Share this article with fellow gardeners who are ready to work smarter, not harder, and let's build a community of gardeners who understand that the best soil comes from the simplest methods. Your future self and your thriving garden will thank you for making the switch to lazy composting.